Yesterday we had the memorial service for my mother. She passed away a few days ago. That's the last of my family gone. My grandparents are gone. My father died a few years ago, and my mom was the last living relative. I grew up in a Christian cult that I escaped. I used to think it was not that big a deal. I left in my early 20s. I've come since to find out that it's probably had more impact on me than I'd like to admit. And actually the better way to describe coming out of something like that would be I survived it, because a lot of people didn't. I was not particularly grieved when my mother passed. We had been estranged for a long time. I had decided to go, me and my family, no contact many years ago for reasons that I don't need to get into. At the very end, when we found out how sick she was, meaning my sister and I, both of us had been estranged from her by choice, we decided to make contact again, and we spent the last 4 weeks of her life reunited. I watched my mom die from a terrible death of throat, neck cancer. I sat with her and washed her wounds. I couldn't be there all the time. I went when I could. My sister was there a lot and really stepped in and cared for her, and that reconciliation meant everything to my mother. It was a fulfillment of her prayers, and I'm glad that we could do that. It was important for me. It was important for my sister. It doesn't necessarily put away all of the past and all of the hurt. That's going to take some time, but I do feel at peace, and I certainly feel content with that. It's a very strange sensation waking up this morning being the last one of your family. When I left the Christian cult, I was excommunicated from all of the people that I'd ever known in my entire life. I had 8 or 9 boys that were my age that I grew up with from the time I was an infant up until the time of probably my 20 or so. And when you leave something like that, all ties are cut off. You are basically excommunicated and considered to be dead. So it's a very difficult thing to deal with when you have been raised in a very closed, tight-knit community where everyone looks out for each other, and now you are cast out and you are on your own with no support system, no friends, no family. And that's why when I look back on that, and the fact that I'm standing here today and I'm able to have a family and I'm able to function properly, it is truly a miracle of God. I may or may not choose to share that experience growing up. I have not shared it to this point out of respect for my parents. I didn't want to embarrass them, and there was really no need. And I may never, but I may. When my father died a few years ago, I was with him also at the end. My sister and I were fortunate enough to be at his side when he passed. But I remember watching him in the year or so as he started to degrade and to get weaker and weaker, how difficult that was as a man to watch the most intelligent, capable, strongest person I'd ever known, watch him become weak. And I remember, even though I had my own family and had been married and was thriving and doing well, I always knew in the back of my mind that if things got bad, if I got in a bind, if I got hurt or injured, I wasn't able to provide for myself, that Dad would always be there to care for us, offer us a place to live. He was always there. Whenever I had a great accomplishment, I could call him. And that was the first person that I wanted to call. We had a tough relationship. I used to think that he was the meanest, angriest guy in the whole world. He was a big man. He was 6'7", about 240 pounds, and he was a very strong alpha type of personality. And it was hard to grow up with that. I hated working for him. He didn't have patience. That's why I spent so much time with my grandfather. My grandfather was the opposite of my dad. And I didn't appreciate at the time how hard he was on me. I thought he was mean. I thought he was unreasonable. And so I would go and spend time with my grandfather, who was so kind and patient, never raised his voice. But I'm glad that Dad was that way, because he left so much with me, a skill set and capabilities that I just couldn't see at the time. But to be honest, we never were really close. I don't think he really ever knew me, and I don't really think I knew him. I knew he was kind, and he was one of the most generous people that I knew, despite all of his faults. But having that in the background, to be able to call him, share successes, I didn't realize how important that was until it was gone. I remember sitting over at his house when he was really declining. His health was failing. And I remember looking at him for the very first time, and I saw his frailty and I saw his weakness. And I remember this feeling of shame and disgust came over me, that he had gotten so weak. This man that I looked at as being so capable, such a rock, a pillar, a foundation in my life. And to see him failing and being frail, I was ashamed and I was embarrassed for him for just a brief moment. In that brief moment, nothing was said to either one of us. I don't know if he experienced what I experienced, but I understood at that moment that the torch had been passed. Now, at that very moment, it was me that I was the one that had become stronger, more capable, and more accomplished than him. And that anything that would befall my mother or the family, it was no longer upon Dad's shoulders. He had ran his race and it was over. It was now upon me, and it was a very sobering moment. And I thought that that was the moment that I really stepped into manhood, because you always kind of question. I've always felt young at heart, and I looked at my dad, I looked at people that were my age and older, and I would look at them and think, well, those people are adults. But I always just still felt like a kid. But when Dad passed, that responsibility, it wasn't a crushing responsibility, but it was heavy, rested upon my shoulders, and a sobriety, a seriousness came upon me. That childhood, that irresponsibility, that always knowing that Dad would bail me out, it was gone. Waking up this morning and knowing now Mom is gone, my grandparents are gone, where there's no one else left, excommunicated from family, friends that I grew up with, and I've come to grips with that. I don't harbor any ill will. It gives me a very different perspective on life. I don't know why I'm standing here talking about this. I just don't feel like I had anyone to talk to, and I wanted to talk this out as I was thinking and just try to get a hold of it myself. I guess what that means for you and for me and for the channel. And I think that we've been together, many of you have been with me since the very beginning, 15 years or so. And I don't look at this as just a frivolous thing. I have met some wonderful people, have friends to this day. And this channel is a tremendous part of my life. And I think that it would be disrespectful not to share my insights and how I'm feeling about things. Many of you are invested in our family, have watched my kids grow up. Having Mom gone, even though death and loss of your family is sad, I feel released from a lot of ghosts of the past. I feel like I no longer have to worry about pleasing someone or disappointing someone or trying to live up to some sort of obligation or expectation that was also always elusive and impossible to achieve. And having that in the background playing, it's hard to find contentment, peace, and to really be the person that you are. Today I feel content. Today I feel like I can go forward and be exactly who I've always wanted to be. No longer is anyone looking down, judging me, having unrealistic expectations. I feel released from a lot of ghosts from the past. I woke up this morning, usually I think, well, what type of content are we going to do today? What are the good people going to want to see? What are subscribers going to want to see? And for the first time, I didn't care. I thought to myself, what they want to see is irrelevant. What they will see is what it is that I want to do. So for the unseen future, or I guess from this day forward, I'm going to say what I like. I'm not going to be controlled and ruled by expectations and ghosts of the past or the algorithm on YouTube. I'm going to do the things that needs doing, that pleases me, that my family needs, that we enjoy, and I'll bring you along with that. I don't know where that'll take us. It might be boring. It might be fixing fences. It might be planting trees. It might be riding dirt bikes. I don't know. I don't know that I've completely worked through all of this. I don't know that I fully grieved the loss that I'm facing right now. My tendency has been to hang on to it for a little while, and then it will manifest in the future sometime. So I'll just have to be aware of that and wait for that to happen. I don't know that you can truly be an adult, a man, until you lose all of your family. I don't know what else to say. I'm grateful to be here. I want to thank all of you for your support. And I'm looking forward to the future. God bless all of you. Please pray for my family. And we'll see you guys in the next video.